Hey everyone, just a quick recap on what happened in part 3 before we get started. We had Rasen who finally finished the book he was reading, figuring out that the thousand year herb was the secret ingredient to the Veridan chocolate that increases his mana, and him setting up a daily tea with his mother in order to get rid of the azure dots, the disease that she has. We return back to Hera and Hampton, standing outside looking in awe at what's happening. For the first time ever, they see the young master running out in the field training his body. Watching Rasen train, Hampton comments to Hera saying that he seems to be quite busy lately, pointing out that in addition to the training and exercise that he's doing now, he's gone up to the library to study and the training and next to train. But Hera, observing Rasen, quickly notices that Rasen wasn't simply jogging for the sake of jogging, but performing something else. Out of nowhere, Evian pops up behind the two, as she did in the library with Rasen, and mentions that he's going through a process of mana melting condensed in his body by body utilization. Neither Hera or Hampton notices Evian and her presence. It seems as if Evian was on her way to go to the Maple next, but happened to see Rasen training and decided to stop on by. When asked if they should tell Rasen that she was here, she responds that it's fine. But Hampton wonders why Miss Evian was going to the Maple next because she is a librarian. She should be a high rank magician, which would be odd for her to come here to help the Master's growth and provide support, as librarians are said to be neutral figures. Watching Hampton, she points out that the seventh young master is different from what she's heard in the rumors. As the three watch Russ and train, Hera reaches into her pocket and provides Evian with Veridan chocolates that Rasen told her to give when she shows up. While giving the chocolate to Evian, Hera comments that she didn't think that someone like the librarian liked chocolate, but the young master had ordered her to do so, thinking that when you give a gift, their rank needs to be considered, and if this chocolate is given to Miss Evian, who's a librarian and considered a high rank magician, this could be seen as an insult. But Evian accepts the chocolate, saying that she can't ignore the young master's sincereness. Hera, during this interaction, thinks, what's Rasen's idea of making her give Evian this chocolate? What relationship do they have that she doesn't know about? After this, Evian leaves without saying goodbye. 3 days later, Rasen finally finishes the book of basic magic's easy mana cultivation. Following this, he gets a notification saying that the basics of mana easy cultivation will be imprinted in his heart, and finally thanks that he's mastered the cultivation. Within the next moment, he feels a sharp jolt that brings him to his knees. Falling to the ground, he wonders, what is this sharp pain? His mana feels like it's overflowing, and he understands in a moment that if he doesn't read this mana flow properly, his heart may explode. He quickly makes a decision to try to read the flow of mana with his ability Divine Eye, thinking a world where you can die if you don't analyze a book properly. Later that day, he finally suppresses his overwhelming mana and receives the notifications. This time it says that easy mana cultivation has been implanted in his heart, and due to the effects of easy mana cultivation, settings that he couldn't see now are becoming more visible, and settings of another world are starting to reveal themselves. It seems like he's finally gaining control. While in his concentrated state, he thinks about Larvian and sees more descriptions he couldn't previously see, such as her age being 27, her attribute being ice, personality being cold yet pure, but sometimes cruel. These were settings that couldn't previously be accessed, that revealed important information, but the most important information he had access to was that she thinks that chocolate is best, a setting that he had placed while writing her character. Suddenly, instead of icy and cold, he feels the complete opposite, a strong, fiery sensation to a point where he thinks that the room is on fire, but when he looks into the fire, he sees a silhouette of a person. Coming out of the fire, a lady with fiery red hair stands in front of Rasen. She asks him why he was pretending to focus and if he had a death wish. This person was none other than Persha Maiden. She was an insane person with three attributes: fire, earth, and water. Her personality is violent and cruel. Rasen wonders why this woman was here. She openly thinks if she should just cut him up, and that she may not hold herself back. But within that moment, Rasen sees another description. He notices that she despises people who are weak and pathetic, and likes to dismember people as a hobby. She asks Rasen again why he was pretending to focus. To this, Rasen panics and almost blurts out that he's sorry, but he manages to stop himself. He almost apologizes, but quickly remembers her description. She hates weak and pathetic people, and thinks that if he apologizes, she's going to cut his arms and legs because she sees him as weak, and he understands immediately that this is some sort of test from Persia. Instead of apologizing being cowardly, he tells her directly that he wasn't pretending to focus. Still terrified, he follows that up with how he highly doubts that her abilities were that lacking that she didn't know. To this, she tells Rasen to keep yapping. Rasen doubles down and tells her that he was sure she was aware that he was actually focusing, and tells her that she really wanted to know if he would falsely apologize, and this was a test. She chuckles at Rasen's bravery, saying that the rumors that she had heard about him changing were true, and Rasen simply responds that he was trying to finally shape up as a person. But as suddenly as Persia appeared, she sends a flaming snake at Rasen, which wraps around Rasen's body and neck. When she presses him about being too late to shape up as a person, he responds that he knows well that he can't become the patriarch, and he knows his own caliber. Even if he can't become the patriarch, he can at least be someone that can help someone become the patriarch. All he's saying is that he can at least be a small variable. He doubles down by saying even a trash like him can be useful depending on the ability of the one using him, and how a single person can change the world. When asked whose variable Rasen wishes to be, she's clearly asking which sibling he wants to back, but he responds that he really doesn't know who his older brothers and sisters are, and so he has no idea who's fit to become the head of the family. But in reality, as the author of the novel, he knows that the one that will succeed the current patriarch and become the next matriarch. This is Evelia, the last archmage. He also tells her that he knows that she's afraid of the second older sister, Evelia, and to this, she tightens the snake, but he manages to utter a couple more words. He says that he knows that she hates liars. As the flaming snake tightens, he mentions that she despises pathetic submission and butt kissing more than being told the hard truth to her face, and that he simply doesn't want to be remembered by her sister as her pathetic younger brother. Suddenly, the snake disappears and Rasen drops to his knees, coughing in relief. He says that he trusts that she'll forgive him since he spoke the truth, but suddenly she pulls out a snowball-like object and throws it at Rasen, hitting him in the stomach, making him cough even more. He thinks that he was hit by a bowling ball, but in reality, he was just hit by an apple. To this event, he gets a notification which says, Beginner Magic Combat protected your heart from a high rank mana. Beginner Magic Combat Resolute Willpower is implanted into the mana circle. Resolute Willpower. Rasen had just received a new Magic Combat skill just by getting hit by an apple. Persia tells Rasen to scarf this apple down, and without further explanation disappears as quickly as she came and leaves Rasen to think and stare at the apple. After observing the apple with his divine eye, he sees that this is a karsha. It's an equivalent to a mana elixir, something that's very good, expensive, and rare. He thinks that this is only possible because he's privileged being the youngest son of the Maiden clan, but the protagonist cutscene is said to be showered with so much luck that a mana elixir would mean nothing to him, but thinks it's probably for the best if he doesn't compare himself to the OP protagonist. Back at Persia's estate, she thinks about Rasen, the bastard of the Maple Necks. Thinking out loud, she says that this kid is cute, and that he actually made his first circle by himself at the age of 9, and that if she really pretended to be a bastard all this time, he's really a sly snake. Tapping into the table, she openly thinks that she needs sly people like him for her war against the second oldest sister. She thinks that someone who is a coward that is consumed by fear also knows how to hide himself, yet there's no chance for him to become the patriarch because his potential is limited. He's the perfect pawn. Tapping through the desk, she states that he is a great pawn and calls for her own shadow Sando. She tells Sando to continue spreading the rumor that Rasen is a bastard so no one will try to swipe him away. Back at the Maple Necks, Rasen is sitting staring at the apple, reading its description. Its excessive consumption of this elixir can cause death, and the help of a skilled magician is necessary upon consumption, with a water or ice elemental magician being able to provide the most help. He thinks that the third young lady Persia is no ordinary person. He's sure that she simply is just curious of him, but the problem of consuming the apple is that if he does absorb this Karsha, she'll try to use him. The other problem is that she doesn't know if she'll keep him around or toss him aside after he uses him. But he does know that if he doesn't eat it, because of her personality, she'll probably cut off an arm or a leg. At the very least, in the end, he does need to eat this apple. Understanding that he needs help from a water, ice, or wind elemental magician, he instantly thinks of Evian, knowing that it'll probably be good for him to seek her out, but wonders what if she decides to kill him because she wants the apple for herself. And the next moment, we see that Rasen has made a decision. Evian is knocking on Rasen's door asking if she may enter. He thinks that he won't be able to hide the Karsha anyways because of the mana exuded by it. He decides to tell Evian to come on in. Sitting across the table from her, he mentions that he won't try to hide it, since he's sure that she's already felt it, and shows her the Karsha. Getting straight to the point, he says that he would like to make a trade. And when asked what kind of trade, he gets straight to the point and tells her that he can't consume this by himself, so he'd like her to help. She responds as a librarian she has the obligation to remain neutral and that she can't participate in the battle of succession in any form whatsoever. But Rasen tells her that he's not asking her to participate in the battle of succession. He tells her that he simply wants to ascend to a higher level as a mage and someone that will inherit the will of magic. This is a common line often mentioned by model magicians, and Evian thinks that if someone is maliciously spreading false rumors about the seventh young master because he acts quite differently from the rumors. He follows this up with that he has no intention of becoming the patriarch of the Maiden clan, but she states that she's heard rumors saying that the Maiden clan often dedicate their lives to becoming the head of the clan. Rasen responds and says that this has nothing to do with him and he simply wants to increase his personal aptitude, but she says to please request help from the magicians from the Central, but unfortunately, he can't trust the magicians from Central because he's sure that they've already been bought out by his other siblings. He tells her this, and that he simply wants to protect his weak mother. This line causes Evian to remember a scene she's seen on the streets before, where a guard made an example of a mother for simply not paying taxes, for not having power. She was horrified and enraged by this event. So enraged by this event that she stormed into Revington Castle and froze it entirely. This is why she was a wanted person. After a long contemplation, she responds that she's not helping just because he gave her chocolates or anything. After she agrees, she gets straight to work. She explains to him that her role is to freeze the mana that'll rush upon consumption of the Karsha. She'll slowly melt it so that his heart can absorb it at a comfortable rate. She also casually mentions that as a side effect, his body may freeze, and if he's lucky, he'll thaw within a few months. If unlucky, it may take a few years, but if he's truly unlucky, he may even die. Rasen's in shock at how calmly Evian says this, but backs up by saying she's a pretty competent ice magician, so she'll try her best not to let this happen. Having second thoughts and doubts about this procedure, he understands that Evian is only saying this out of consideration, and that in situations like this, they tend to have a higher success rate than what it sounds like. But just before she starts, she tells him that he still has to compensate her for appearance sake, and that because it's only for appearance sake, she'll accept a compensation of 24 Veridan chocolates. Back at Persia's estate, Persia receives a report from Sando saying that he ate the Karsha and that he received help from the librarian Evian, and in order to get help, he may have tugged at Evian's heart. To this, Persia mentions that the Karsha she had given him was a special premium quality, and without a magician of Evian's caliber, he would have died eating it. Persia says that the way Sando was speaking makes it seem as if he's successfully started consuming the mana. Sando tells her that this is correct, however, there's something a bit strange about the seventh young master. His body appears to be far too sturdy to a point where even the ice mage were shocked. He's absorbing the frozen mana at an unbelievable rate, and his heart rate and temperature remains uniform. But Persia simply says that this means that his heart is strong because he's part of the Maiden clan. Persia then asks Sando how long she'll think it'll take him to fully consume the mana, because normally it'll take 3 years, but she bets that he can finish it within a year. But Sando tells her that at his current rate, he'll finish it within 3 weeks. Back at the Maple Annex, Rasen is unable to sleep because of his body burning up with overflowing mana. Thank you for dropping by. If you liked the content, please like and subscribe. I'll be back with the next part soon.